Welcome, race fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for a special edition of the IndyCar Report with Elijah Poe, our reaction to the race in Phoenix. Joining Elijah and myself is Dave Chanley and Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call-Leader to discuss a really good Phoenix race that changed on strategy at the end and gave Josef Newgarden a big win, especially after what happened last year. Kyle Kirkwood was second, David Malukas third, Pato Award fourth, then Marcus Ericsson, Alexander Rossi, nice finish, Scott Dixon, Scott McLaughlin, three Penske's in the top eight, Graham Rahal, and Kiffin Simpson. Christian Rasmussen finished in 14th, Elijah. What a shame.
It was a shame for Rasmussen to finish down there in 14th. He was leading most of the day. I don't think I've seen a more aggressive oval racer than Christian Rasmussen. You talk about somebody elbows out. It was a true joy to watch. Didn't pit on...
Dave and Michelle will remember this. Very Thomas Scheckter-like.
I'll agree with that. Only Scheckter, I think, was more of a crasher.
Yeah, Scheckter didn't care what anybody thought. He just was going to do it, and that was what was what. And Rasmussen reminds me a little of that.
Well, really, the main incident we're talking about is on lap 212 when we had a caution. Newgarden, Pato, Scotty Mack, and others decided to pit, and Rasmussen did not. I'm interested to see your guys' thoughts on that. Obviously, it's hard to kind of nail down a strategy because yellows can come at any time on an oval, but then again, it feels like a missed opportunity to pit.
I thought it was a blunder. They made a mistake, especially since he had already been involved in the incident, and maybe they could give it a quick look to make sure everything was 100%. Anybody, and you're going to bunch up, and you still got 38 laps to go. That's a lot of racing, and new tires would definitely make a difference.
I thought the tires were the big difference, but I really think he didn't pit because I think he thought he would lose track position in the car, and he in his mind, he's the one feeling the handling. He thought that he was going to run best in clean air, and if he came into the pits, he wasn't going to be in clean air, and maybe he would go back and end up losing even more positions. I think for him and his team, I think they thought clean air was the most important thing for him at that point.
It's a tough decision. I kind of agree with Dave. There's too many laps left not to come in and take it, especially after you did have the little incident with Will Power there. It probably was the right move, but to Elijah's point, it's a difficult decision to make. Coming out of first place is not an easy decision for sure.
Yeah, I'm also interested to hear your guys' thoughts on that incident with Will Power that Christian Rasmussen had. It was eerily similar to the same incident that Palou got taken out of with VK. And Will Power, on an alternate strategy all the way from the back, was leading that race on pure pace. Very interesting to see that incident kind of happen. It feels like maybe it was a spotter mistake, but nonetheless, it kind of ruined Power's day.
On that particular one, I think Power was trying to shut him off. You know, only he knows, because he took it up pretty high, and I think he was trying to block a little bit. And at the same time, I think Christian got a little bit too antsy. He could have waited because he had the pace to beat Power, and he definitely had to know the last thing he wanted was a caution at that point. So I'll give 60% of the blame to Power and 40% to Rasmussen on that.
You know what, Dave? I'm going to agree with you on that. Power had been changing his line to try to take away the clean air from Rasmussen during that.
That's right.
And Rasmussen had the best car. All he had to do was just wait, because Power was going to make a move that he was going to be able to take advantage of. Maybe if that's a downfall of Rasmussen, maybe that's it. Sometimes he is too impatient. His aggressiveness causes him to become too impatient. More of the fault blame goes on Power, but it could be a spot. He could have thought he had just enough room that there wouldn't be contact made. It's tough. Someday I'd like to be a passenger and find out what it is like to go around the speedway and 160 plus or 170 miles an hour on a lap and see just how much you're aware.
First of all, I can't believe that Power sustained all the damage and Rasmussen didn't seem to sustain as much. Odd physics there that Power would be the one that took all the damage if you go back and watch the race, because definitely Rasmussen had a lot more contact when you include the wall. But Elijah's right. It was eerily similar to the Poe accident with VK. I thought VK was a little more aggressive than even Power, and I give him a little more blame. But both of them, you could say, both sides were probably a little too aggressive.
Yes, and I think the Poe VK incident was a little more the other way. I'll go 60% VK on that. He didn't need to stick it in there at that point, especially early in the race. And Poe didn't know he was there. I'll put that on the spotter. He needed to know he was there, and he would have given him room. But that was a restart. That was after a couple laps after the restart, and Poe was very slow on this particular restart.
I think we can honestly say that's one of the first mistakes we've seen out of that number 10 crew in a very, very long time.
How much you want to make a bet? They spend some time this week on working on that for next week, for next week, and even in the future. That's the one thing I think the number 10 team's gonna. I tweeted that yesterday, or messaged that to you guys yesterday, that I think they're going to come back with maybe even more purposeful and focused next week. So be interesting.
I think they're going to be the favorites in Arlington for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And, we just talked about Rasmussen, but we can also talk about ECR as a whole with Alexander Rossi finishing in 6th. They looked like maybe the second or third best team other than the Penske's out there.
I think they look like the best team on speed.
I agree. They had it hooked up and together. ECR Racing, I love ECR. I love Ed Carpenter. And on these ovals, they come to play.
Hey, maybe Ed Carpenter Racing will be a true contender for the 500 in a couple months.
Yeah. I think they showed at St. Pete that they're not going to compete for any kind of championship because they're not good enough on street and road courses right now. They probably will be from time to time, but not consistent enough. But yeah, I think for sure they showed that they are going to be a team to beat at the 500. That's the good news for them. And Rahal too. I think Graham Rahal you can put in the mix right now as an Indy 500 contender. I really think we saw that sign yesterday, and maybe even Schumacher as well. I know he's a rookie, but he's awfully talented, and he picked up the ovals pretty quickly.
First time on an oval to qualify, and I was just watching and cheering at the TV. I think he is such a great addition to IndyCar, and he just did fabulous. And of course, the first race at St. Pete, that was bad. That was bad, and he had nothing to do with that. So we didn't see Schumacher on that one. But this past weekend, we saw a very good Mick Schumacher.
I think you hit it right on the head there, David. It's incredible to see what he did qualifying wise. Seeing him up in 4th was unreal. I think he kind of got thrown into the fire in the race as a whole. He's not used to how the air works off these cars, and even just finishing the race in 18th and not dead last it is a testament to how good and skilled he is. I think when we go to some of these shorter ovals, he's going to be up in contention again, and I honestly can't wait to see what he does at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where he's really able to put his foot in the gas and really just kick it. So really incredible to see RLL as a whole be super competitive, because when we see more competitive teams show up to races, there's nothing better than seeing a full field truly competing. Very interesting. I know we praised Fox after the St. Pete race, but it was a little rough. It took until lap 32 just to even get the leaderboard on TV. And the camera angles, they honestly felt just a little lost at times, especially in the beginning. I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
I did not like the problems with the leaderboard. I think they struggled for most part of the day, not just getting it on, but they were also on the wrong lap several times and did not have it working properly. I don't know if that was a glitch of some kind, but I'm sure they can correct that one.
Yeah, I thought their broadcast was quite a bit rougher than what it was the previous week. I thought they were so good at St. Pete. But yeah, I agree. I thought some of the camera angles, I just was not as impressed. Now, it could also be that whatever was causing the leaderboard, and that's probably some graphics that's whoever's doing in the truck. It could be that maybe they were having enough problems with that. It took focus off other parts of what they were doing in the truck. I don't know, but yeah, I trust they will get it figured out before Arlington.
I think the only part that maybe kind of worries me is the fact that this was a new race. We're going to a new track that Fox hasn't been to, but we still have 3 new tracks on the calendar for the rest of this year. And these are races where you cannot have those blunders. If this happened, say, next week in Arlington, where it's expected to be a pretty massive turnout and a really big event for IndyCar, or even in DC or Markham in Canada, I think if you have these blunders on races where you propagate as a pretty big street and road course races, I think it's just a bad look for IndyCar and cannot happen.
Maybe they're just were thinking they could use some of the same things that they plan on using in the NASCAR race today or whatever. I don't know, but I just hope that this is a one done bad race for them.
I will say the new visor cams they were saying, oh, we're going to have more of those this year. I thought on the street course didn't work very well. It just looked shaky, and there was a car way out in front of them you couldn't see. But I thought on the oval was really cool. It was smooth. You could kind of see exactly what the driver's seeing, and I think that added to it.
I actually liked Joey Logano on there. I probably will get some blowback from that, but I thought he added quite a bit.
No, he did a nice job, except for I think he was thinking from a NASCAR perspective that he said what VK did, there was no problem with what he did. Maybe in a NASCAR, but in an IndyCar, that was a pretty big mistake.
I hope he never gets an IndyCar because he'll crash everybody on the track.
Well, I do think it's ingenious by Fox throughout the whole race that they did really talk about a lot of NASCAR components. They compared the 2 series. They had Jamie Little there. Clint Boyer rode in the 2-seater. Joey Logano in the booth. I think that is such a ingenious way to introduce NASCAR fans to IndyCar, because I think the time period of NASCAR fans not liking IndyCar and IndyCar fans hating on NASCAR, it has to end. You know, we're going up against a titan that is Formula One.
I won't watch a lap of NASCAR. I think it's boring racing. I'm sorry.
You know what, Greg? I don't enjoy NASCAR anymore. They change so many components. I just think they've taken away from what's exciting about NASCAR, and there aren't any really good driver rivalries out there or anymore. So,
well, I can't agree with that, but I do think the viewership that NASCAR brings in, we're talking 2 to 3 million more than IndyCar on average. I'll stand there with you. I'm not ever going to watch a NASCAR race unless I like the track. But if a NASCAR fan tunes into IndyCar, that's benefit for IndyCar. I'll take that.
You put them side by side. I think anybody who says, ooh, I'd rather watch this NASCAR race is kind of a moron.
Yeah, you're stepping on some toes there, Greg.
Yeah, I think Greg's right. I think IndyCar is becoming more. I think it truly is becoming more enjoyable to watch. The race is cleaner. They're having some really great passes. I thought yesterday you can't complain about the action on the track. And even though Palou ended up dominating kind of like he did at St. Pete, the cars behind him, there was a lot of great racing.
IndyCar did 250 miles yesterday, and NASCAR's doing 500 today. So that's a race. I don't know who in their right mind could sit down and watch for 3.5 hours.
It'd be fun to go to. I think it would be entertaining to watch live, but I cannot just sit and watch that anymore. Sorry, NASCAR fans. And by the way, if you love both, I get Susie's dad, producer Susie's dad loves every race that comes on television. I completely get that. But if you look at the two of them side by side, I don't know how you could possibly pick NASCAR.
I will say this. When I've been to both the Indy 500 and the Brickyard. I love the racing at the 500 because there was actually racing, because at the Brickyard, Indy is not really meant for the NASCAR stock cars. It's hard to pass and everything, but my environment was better. I enjoyed it because NASCAR people were there to watch the racing. The IndyCar people were there to party. So I'd have to fight my way through a drunken crowd on my way out of the track at an Indy 500 race, where I had no such problems at the NASCAR race. And what's funny is you'd think it might have been different now, and maybe it is different today, but not when
It is.
not a few decades ago.
It's very different today.
Well, I want to comment this, though. I think the idea of the doubleheader was fantastic. That was good probably for both NASCAR and IndyCar, because I think it brought an element together, and I hope they do it again next year. And I really would hope that they could do it at another racing venue that would be an oval that would work for both of them.
A lot of them.
That's
get done over and over.
That's a perfect segment because, Doug Bowles said yesterday they sat down with NASCAR executives and are planning to be back at Phoenix next year, but they're also evaluating other ovals. And we've talked on this podcast at length how IndyCar needs to be at more ovals. And if you can do these doubleheader weekends, maybe 2 or 3 a year, what an opportunity for IndyCar to be all over the nation in areas it hasn't been to in years.
Want Richmond back.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, what would Indy cars look like at Bristol?
Oh, I think that'd be a mess.
That would be a mess.
It would.
It would be cool, though. This is the first time someone in the IndyCar Championship has led other than Alex Poe since June 23rd, 2024. The standings as of right now are Josef Newgarden in first, Kyle Kirkwood in second, Scotty Mack in third, Pato O'Ward in fourth, and Alex Poe in fifth. I guess my question to you guys is, we're 2 races in, how long do you think the field can really challenge Poe here?
Not very long. There are a bunch of road courses coming up, road and street courses. He'll probably take the lead again. But it's a long season, and this could happen anytime, which is why Michelle and I, in our preseason predictions, picked the field against Alex Poe, because these things can happen. So I'm predicting Alex Poe will be in the lead by the time we get to Indy. But you never know, because these things happen.
I think it could stay. I think it could remain close till after the Indy race. Just because Poe won the 500 last year, it'll be interesting. I also wouldn't be. I said close. That doesn't mean that Poe won't be in the lead by the time they get to Indy. I would be surprised if he's very far out of the lead or is not top 3 within the next couple of races.
I'm going to say it's going to be closer. He's not going to run off with it. I think Indy itself is just a fantastic race, and he happened to be at the right spot at the right time last year to pull it off. So that could be anybody's race. I've always said that. It's a long race, and it can be anybody's race, and bad things happen to some good drivers. So, and it's double points. So I'm going to say after the Indy race, it's going to be a lot of people right up there, very competitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Pato's winning Indy, right?
I'm all for that, but he's got to get more pace. I have on my notes here to talk about Pato, and I thought he had a really good weekend, but I don't think the Aero cars had the pace that ECR or Penske had.
Yeah, I agree. They did look like they were just not quite as quick. Pato O'Ward with, I think it was about 10, 15 laps to go, who was ahead of Newgarden, just could not get around David Malukas. And that's just on pure pace alone. He had the fresher tires. He had the benefit of everything. And that's where I think these Air McLarens kind of struggle. And they definitely need to figure that out for the 500, because we all know how good Pato O'Ward is. But he's really going to have to find that pace. Maybe Ryan Hunter-Reay can help him find that.
They'll have them up there in the speed by the time Indy gets here.
They're going to have to, because, you mentioned the other racing teams, but Andretti performed well. Their cars were pretty good yesterday too, and right now it seems like Arrow McLaren is maybe just even a tad behind them.
Hey, Kirkwood had a great race. Will Power really had a good race, but for the entire weekend, the bad things that happened to Will Power is right on Will Power. It was not on Andretti. I put that all on Will Power himself.
Yeah, the team that seemed to lack pace this weekend was Ganassi.
Yeah, they did. Kevin Simpson honestly had a pretty good day. If he started down in 19th and was able to finish in 10th, I think that's a positive swing for him. But Scott Dixon, he was on the alternate strategy, just didn't quite work out for him. But to your point, Dave, Kyle Kirkwood, he only had 3 stops compared to 5 for Newgarden, 4 for David Malukas, and 5 for Pato. Wow. Marcus Armstrong, another great drive as well for 3 stops, really saved that as well, starting down in 13th and ending up in 5th. It's just a really good on short ovals, I think, where the strategies, they are just everywhere.
I love short oval racing. I love oval racing, period. But that short oval racing, I think, is just fantastic. The more, the better. And they had passing yesterday. They had multiple lanes yesterday. I just, hats off to Phoenix Raceway, the way it played out. I just thought it was fantastic.
Dave, there was a time when there were only 2 short ovals on the schedule, and they were my least favorites because they couldn't pass each other. Man, that is not the case anymore.
No.
There was 564 on-track passes, 18 lead changes, and 11 different race leaders. Just absolutely incredible product that IndyCar has. And if I'm Doug Bowles, I'd be looking at every short oval in America right now, seeing if they want to host IndyCar.
Richmond.
I agree.
Please come back to Kentucky. Please come back to Kentucky. That would be a great doubleheader weekend.
Yeah, that's one that Roger Penske just needs to buy. And the problem was the parking. It was a miserable experience getting in and out of that track. But they need, if they can fix that, they should run at Kentucky. It was a great place to run. Anyway, Dennis Hauger, guys.
Very impressed. I think he is an up-and-coming driver. He managed to race well and stay out of the way, both at the same time. I have nothing but praise for Dennis Hauger.
He really reminds me of a young Palou at that DCR seat. It's incredible the things he did. The fact he was able to save that car on the backstretch with the air coming off of Rasmussen's front wing, that was unbelievable. He went backwards down the backstretch for about 100 meters and then spun that thing around. Even though he didn't have the strongest finish in 15th, this kid's still a rookie, and he just came off one of the most impressive drives I've ever seen at St. Pete. So if he's able to keep this momentum up, it's going to be hard for Andretti not to sit him at the big team. It really is going to be hard for them.
I would want to do that right now. He went backwards down the front stretch the entire way, spun it around, and then got back into the lead at some point. Strategy, but that guy's the legit, real future champion, I believe.
Yeah, I haven't seen a move that cool or a spin like that since Danny Sullivan way back before your time, Elijah, at the Indy 500 turn 1. That was an incredible spin save, and I think he may have went on to win that race, or he had at least a top 3 finish.
Getting into Arlington next week, we've got a brand new race on the IndyCar schedule, and there's actually news today about the new knockout qualifying format that is going to be instituted for the Arlington race. I can read it from the press release here. The format, the segments of 1 and 2 are going to remain unchanged, and then the Firestone Fast 6 segment will be adjusted to single car, single lap qualifying, beginning with the 6th fastest qualifier from segment 2 and working to the fastest from the previous round. I think this is going to be exhilarating to watch. You're talking about 1 lap, pure pace. That's all you get. It's going to be an awesome watch. I'm interested to see your guys' thoughts on it.
I think it's a good move. You're right. The battle now becomes getting to the Fast 6, although it's always been trying to get to the Fast 6, but getting to the Fast 6 becomes a huge factor. But yes, now you're on your own for out there by yourself. There will be no tow. There will be, it's just going to be different.
Yeah, I wonder how long it's going to take to run the whole thing, but I've always thought they should be out there by themselves qualifying, like the old days.
I think it's going to be. I think it's
take
fun.
3 hours to perform.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fun. It's going to be exciting. It'll be interesting to see how well it does, and it'll be interesting to see if it increases viewership for qualifying.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think this is going to be a super big race. We've got Penske Entertainment, the Cowboys, the Texas Rangers, all partnering up on this event right around AT&T Stadium. I am so thrilled to see what Fox is going to do with some of these camera angles, because I was able to see a video of Kirkwood walking the layout, and most of that is brand new, fresh asphalt. So that's going to be a super smooth track surface, super grippy.
And the visual with F1 around the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami is very cool. And this one might even be cooler.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see Formula IndyCar down there at Hard Rock at some point, because there's rumors of an Indy Next test running around that course. So that would be super interesting. But the race here next weekend is at 12:30 on Sunday, with qualifications coming at 2:30 on Saturday, the day before.
I think Fox does a great job with the qualifying and the interviewing, and I know we've given them a little bit of a bad rap today on the race itself, but all of the rest, Fox has done a magnificent job of really promoting this sport, because they're all in. And I look forward to Arlington. But as you know, I'm an oval guy, but I'll be there watching. I'll be here watching the Arlington race for sure.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. I agree with you, Elijah. Smooth asphalt, just the scenery. I think it's going to be fun. And I prefer ovals, sometimes the road type courses or street courses. But I think this one is going to be an interesting one and a fun one. Just like I think the DC one's going to be interesting and intriguing later this summer.
Well, be sure to join us next week. Then it should be a really interesting race. There's multiple long straights, very hard braking and overtaking zones available for these drivers. It should be just an overall amazing product. Can't wait to talk about it.
And we'll be back on Thursday morning for the IndyCar report with Elijah Poe. Hope Michelle and Dave are able to join us. Thanks everybody so much for being here, and thanks everybody so much for listening. Please do us a huge favor and share this podcast with an IndyCar fan in your life, and help spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is talking about what Central Indiana sports fans are talking about every single day. Michelle, Dave, and Elijah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks. I love it.
Thank you.
That was fun. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I sure love you, Susie.